Well, I'd like to invite Clarissa Bias to come join me up here on stage. And as she's coming, I just want to let you know she had the opportunity to, this month actually, to go on a trip to Scotland. It was actually her second trip to Scotland in the past couple of years. And she went with a ministry that she's involved with called Drama Ministry. And Drama Ministry, just so you know, and you'll see some of their pictures, some of her pictures playing behind us here as we talk. It's a ministry that does mimes and dramas, and they use that as an outreach tool, but another big part of what they do is they really focus within their group and their team on discipleship and growing in their faith and their love for Jesus. And so they got to go to Scotland, and she actually just got back on Friday morning, got a little delayed in coming back, so she's still pretty tired, and everything's a little fresh in her mind right now. But Clarissa, this spring, as you actually had two opportunities. You had your Scotland trip opportunity, and you had the Haiti trip that we're going to hear about that we took with C3. And I know it was a struggle, and you really wrestled through it. Tell me a little bit, or tell us a little bit about that struggle and what God taught you through that.
Back in February, I guess, I started to hear about a Scotland trip being planned for this summer. And my first thought right away was, well, of course I'm going. Like, there's no way I'm not going. And then, the Haiti trip came up as well, and I was like, well, there's still no way that I can just not go to Scotland if I have the opportunity. Even though I've been wanting to go to Haiti, actually, for 2.5 years, I was like, I have to go to Scotland. There's no way, I'd choose anything different. And so I explained that to my sister and to a few other people who are pretty close to me, and they really encouraged me. They're like, go on the Third World Mission trip. I think that would be really, really beneficial. So basically, all of February was just spent praying and wrestling with God, and trying to figure out what I was supposed to do, because the thought of not going back to Scotland just made me really, really upset. But then I also knew there was something, in me telling me you need to go to Haiti, and so. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in prayer. I thought I had come to the point a few times where I was like, all right, God, I'm going to give it up to you, whatever. But then that was just, my mouth speaking. It wasn't really my heart actually giving the whole thing up to God. And so, the end of February was drawing near, and I had to decide. Haiti's deadline was the first one. So I was like, all right, God, you know what? I'm going to choose to go to Haiti, and if you want me to go to Scotland, you'll provide a way. And oddly enough, he did. He gave me a job that was so beneficial, really flexible. They were fine with me being gone 3 weeks out of the summer, so I could raise my money for Scotland, and then brought in so much more support than I was ever anticipating. So I guess through that whole experience, I just really learned that God is sovereign, and if he wants you to do something, he's going to provide a way, and you just have to be obedient and humble, and it's not always easy to do, but it's the best way to do that.
Yeah, it was kind of fun for me to watch. I know it wasn't very fun for her to live through it, but it was cool for me to watch her just wrestle with that, and because I saw her, go to a lot of people and get some input and how do you make this decision, and really saw her faith and her trust in God grow through that experience. So that was pretty cool. Well, this was your second time back in Scotland, and second time for Drama Ministry to go there too. How is this trip different or similar to the first trip you guys took a couple of years ago?
Right. Well, we were partnering with the same people, the same churches. We went to a lot of the same places this time, so it was similar in that way. But last time we went, we just had our American team come over. We worked with the youth fellowship, which is like their youth group, a little bit, but then we did our own outreaches in the schools and the streets and things like that. Whereas this time we took our American team and went over and actually had 4 of the Scottish youth come and be a part of our team. And so that was really just awesome to see that we could have two sets of teens come together and from 2 different worlds and just be the same team.
How did you see, as you kind of went through this experience and you were there for 2 weeks, how did you see God work through you guys in Scotland?
The biggest thing was by inspiring the youth that we were working with. Obviously the 4 kids that we were a team with from Scotland, they were really excited for the 2 weeks that we were there and things like that. But it actually wasn't until the night before we left where we had some of the other youth from the youth fellowship really getting excited, especially one of the guys was just super excited and like, yeah, we really need to do this, we need to commit, we need to start doing outreaches and everything. And it was awesome for me to see that because, first of all, he hates miming, and which was understandable, but the fact, he wasn't really a big part of the youth fellowship recently, but the fact that he, stepped up and was just like, yeah, we need to do this, we need to start stepping up as youth was really, really encouraging.
I know you haven't had a whole lot of time to reflect in the last 2 days or day and a half or whatever you've had, but how did God challenge you through your experience this summer?
Well, some of this is I'm going to talk about later when we talk about Haiti, but I'll tell you briefly, something I learned in Haiti really was to be where I am and to have my mind where my body is and not to be distracted. And so I learned that in Haiti, and then I came home and just blew it, basically. I just failed in that area. I went back to the normal. And so when I went back to Scotland, I had lots of opportunities to be really honest with the teens and my team and everything. In fact, one of the nights we had a bonfire, and it was our team as well as some of the other youth fellowship kids and then some teenagers that were just from the community. We had a bonfire, and what we did was we had to write something down that we needed to surrender to God. And if we were ready to surrender it, then we'd go up and tell everybody what it was and then throw it in the fire. And if we weren't ready, we'd just keep it until we were ready to tell someone. And so that was a big thing, and that was a big step for being honest, because it's hard to tell people things like that. It's hard to tell people who are close to you and then who don't know you at all. You're just afraid of what they might think. But I'm excited for the accountability. It was good to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's always a challenge, just to be fully present wherever you are and with the people you're with. Kind of what John was talking about earlier, the importance of relationships and those groups that we're part of, being fully there. Well, we were talking yesterday just about your trip a little bit, and you told me that there was something else that really kind of jumped out at you from your experience. You want to just share a little bit about that with us?
Sure. As I go to Scotland, this is my second time, and I've grown so attached to it, to the point that I probably moved there if God had a reason for me to. But again, something that I learned in Haiti a little bit, and I really learned and realized as I was thinking about this, was just that to focus on the people. When I think about Scotland, yeah, it's a beautiful country, and the architecture is beautiful. There's so much history, and I love history, but that's not what made the difference about the trip. That's not what attracts me to Scotland. It's really the people there, and I think that's really beneficial even to take home. Is just that to be focused on relationships. Wherever you are. We talked about this a little bit earlier in the service, but just. It can be here, it can be in Scotland, it can be in Haiti, wherever you are, there are people that need to be loved, and I think that's so applicable.
Well, it sounds like you had a pretty amazing summer, and we're looking forward to hearing a little bit about the Haiti trip from you a little bit later, but thanks so much for sharing, and keep praying for Clarissa as she continues to unpack and to reap all the things that she's learned from her trip in Scotland.